Welcome back. You've made it to Season 3, Episode 5, Part 2 of Podcast Bozo, where you came just in time to join us in a conversation about advertising, marketing, snake oil, selling, and more. We're in Part 2 again, so we're going to get more into the consumer psychology of everything. Here with me, as always, we have locally renowned beer server Sean and celebrated artist and animator Eli. My name is JJ, but you can call me Fabiano Scorsese. As always, it's good to be with y'all. I want to mention first that this podcast is supposed to be a group effort. We want to hear from you, so please visit podcastbozo.com or our social accounts using @podcastbozo. Sean, give us the spelling to that one.
That's @Podcast Bozo, PODCASTBOZO. Like
That's right.
I said, that's Podcast Bozo, PODCASTBOZO. Thanks for following.
You got the radio voice down to a T.
That is it. And chime
Thanks
in.
for joining us on the sound waves today.
And so use that and chime in on our conversations. We will do our best to engage with you online. Now that we have you trapped here, please donate to our Bozo Fund and we will give you a shout out. Read whatever you leave in the donation message. Shout out Austin B. Or even write what you have. We'll write you a little story. It's up to you. All you got to do is donate. Cheek. That radio voice is dynamite. I cannot imagine a better one. Can you give us a little, give us some 2 sentences of life advice in the radio voice?
Do you want it to be optimistic or pessimistic?
Whatever feels right to you.
Pessimistic.
I feel like that's contradictory. It should be optimistic.
All right.
Sometimes at the end of the day, the glass is just half empty, and there's no other way of looking at it. That's when you gotta pour yourself a glass of chocolate milk. Brought to you by a rabbit on crack. Yahoo! Life's a glass of Yahoo, half empty. Pour yourself another glass.
Gee. We need more of that. Oh boy. That just reminded me, Cheek, we have your segment. We just went through, we recorded the first half of this episode and we do the 2 halves in a day. There's been an hour and a half of technical difficulties and it's been frustrating for me. I've been steaming red. I've been like a stewed tomato. But the thing that I'm looking forward to now is Cheek's radio voice and Cheek, your movie synopsis. Are you ready to get those boys rolling?
Yes, let's go.
Just as a reminder.
I was thinking about this.
Go ahead, Cheek.
Do you want to do this at the very end or do you want to do it as a breaking up thing?
I need it right now as an energy boost.
Okay.
Personally, but just so everyone knows, we're still in the conversation about advertising, marketing, snake oil salesman, where we talked about the history of marketing. So go back and listen to 1. We talked about the effects on people. We're going to pick up on that a little more and how people are influenced. And we're going to kick into from there how advertisers take advantage of that. Those are the words I'm looking for. And the consequences, ethical dilemmas, that kind of things. We'll zoom through it. Don't worry. Just stay tuned. We love you. Cheek. Hit us with
smooches
over in a minute. That's the name of the topic. Hit us.
For those of you who aren't familiar with context, I'm going to read through a bunch of sentences that describe a movie that Eli and JJ have to guess really quickly.
Indeed.
All right. So starting off, number 1. It started with an innocent game of baseball, but a group of kids ended up spending their summer in a battle of wits.
Sandlot.
Fat guy goes on a road
Cheek.
trip across the country selling auto parts to save his late father's business.
Tommy boy.
Think about the actors as much for this one. Batman and Wolverine start doing magic tricks and become mortal enemies after Batman accidentally kills Wolverine's wife.
The magician one?
Oh.
Fuck
The Prestige.
The Prestige.
Yeah.
The Prestige.
For some reason, Batman's butler is there too, but he's Wolverine's butler now.
He wasn't even invited, but yeah.
Tom Cruise can't handle the truth.
Tommy Maguire, something Maguire, Jerry Maguire.
A Few Good Men.
Yep.
Ugh. Lawyers.
Tom Cruise slings cocktails in Jamaica.
Oh, Cocktail.
Cocktail.
Tom Cruise had her at hello.
Top Gun.
No, that's Jerry Maguire.
I've
Tom
never
Cruise
seen that movie.
and Brad Pitt travel through the centuries as a couple of bloodsuckers.
Vampires.
Fuck. That's the vampire movie. I forget the name though.
Vampires
Interview
Are
with a
Us.
Vampire.
Interview with a Vampire.
I've never seen that one.
Well,
Dennis Quaid treks through snowstorm to find his son sleeping in a library.
Day After Tomorrow.
oh, that's a throwback.
Dennis Quaid's not sure which daughter is his.
You went in on Dennis Quaid. I love that. No one does that, so you're welcome, Dennis Quaid. I don't know, freaky. It's the redheads. They switch places. Parent Trap.
Michael
Yes.
Keaton. Michael Keaton might actually think he used to be a superhero. While writing a play.
Clockwork Orange.
Did you guys ever see Birdman?
Oh, Michael Keaton. I was thinking Michael Caine. I don't know why. My head was locked on Batman doing magic tricks. So
Michael Keaton did used to be a superhero.
he did. He was the original Batman. Or one of the originals, not the original.
That's my next line.
Oh, Batman?
So if
Original
you do it in
Batman?
order, Michael Keaton might actually think he used to be a superhero.
Birdman.
Michael Keaton was actually a superhero.
Batman.
From Birds to Bat, the Michael Keaton story.
There you go.
Birdman, then Batman.
Very non-PC spy awakens from being frozen for decades to hunt down bald villain. With
Frozen
a
for
tiny
de-
replica of himself.
Captain America?
Austin Powers.
Me and my friends get sucked into a video game that we have to beat in order to get out. And for some reason, one of
Jumanji.
the Jonas Brothers is here.
Jumanji, the new Jumanjis. And for some reason, one of the Jonas Brothers is here.
I thought that was so funny when I was writing it.
What are you doing here?
Hey, it's one of the Jonas Brothers. How'd
We're
you
in the
get
middle
sucked in here?
The middle of the medieval jungle, and Joe Bros here. Nick Joe. All right, go ahead.
Just an angsty college freshman girl learns the value of trying new things and discovers friendship through the power of music.
High School Musical?
Music without any instruments.
Kim Possible.
Music with
Come on.
music. Wait, give that synopsis again. Music without any instruments.
An
Acapella.
angsty college freshman girl learns the value of trying new things and discovers friendship through the power of music.
It's the acapella song with Anna Kendrick. Fuck. Shrimp. The Scampy Twins.
Perfect.
Pitch Perfect. I knew it. Just for everyone's record, I knew it. I just knew. I saw what it was in my head. Go ahead, Cheek. Hit us.
Unlikely race car driver star suffers a nasty crash. His best friend steals his wife, and he kisses a French dude.
Ghost Rider. Oh, Talladega Nights.
Ghost Rider. The Great British Bake Off.
All right, this is the last one I've got's a throwback. Alienated high school boy helps his friend run for class president, while his brother
Napoleon
chats online
Dynamite.
with girls, and his uncle has a killer arm.
Uncle Rico.
El
Kyle Orton,
Primo.
baby. Kyle Orton. Oh, did we get it right? Did Eli get it right?
You got it right.
You got it. Cheat, that was a good one. What was your favorite out of those?
My
Birdman.
favorite was me and my friends get sucked into a video game that we have to beat to get out, and for some reason a Jonas brother is here. When did Nick Jonas, or whichever Jonas it is, I'm not sure, try and make that crossover to acting?
I don't know, but now he's a riverboat captain in Jumanji, so he got typecast real fast. No boy.
I like Jumanji. I liked my Michael Keaton sequence too, but you guys didn't. The flow didn't really work the way I had envisioned it.
Honestly, I like how it worked out in the end because you had to work us through it, and then we got to go back and then really play it out the way it was supposed to be. Michael Keaton thought he was a superhero, Birdman. Michael Keaton was a superhero, Batman. From birds to bats. That's evolution, baby, as Eli put it.
E, for when you do that, when you do that segment, there's still another description for a completely different actor you could do as Batman. Because of how many Batman actors there were.
Is Batman a staple of that segment now?
Yeah, of course.
I knew that some Batmans were coming in this one after you had 3 in yours.
Cheek tried to put a 4th in, though. That was a salty move. I did listen back to that one multiple times, and Cheek won that segment during mine, for sure. Cheek easily won.
Cheek, the movie man.
Oh, don't applaud him. You lost, you dick.
Hey, I'm agreeable. I root for everyone.
Oh, boy. All right.
I like that segment a lot. That's fun.
It's a good one. It's fun because you just get to list movies that you like, and then you just get after that, it's easy breezing, just trying to think of stupid ways to describe them.
Yeah, just the silly ways to describe them.
Yeah. Just the silly ways to describe them.
Just the silly ways.
So we left off talking about our Big 5 ocean analysis. We got a little self-serving in those, talking about our openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, that's Eli, and neuroticism. Apparently I was the worrywart. Cheek is Eli's the open guy. Conscientiousness, split decision. Extroversion was all Cheek. Surprise, surprise. So moving on from there, I wanted to keep talking about consumer psychology a little bit. And I watched this TED Talk on this guy who's super interesting, talking about how like the answers to problems is sometimes cheaper solved by changing perception than changing the math behind everything. So one example that he showed was like the British train problem was that like we need to get more people on our train and we need to get them from A to B faster. So they're like, we're gonna spend $2 billion on infrastructure, making bigger trains that go faster and are safer. And but they hired him first to see if they're doing the right thing. And he comes in, he says, no, I don't think you're doing the right thing. I think you could spend $200,000, considerably less, like 0.01%, to basically have people come in. Because he was saying, like, when I show up to the train station, I show up an hour and a half early just so I can go through security, get on the train in time. And then I'm sitting there once I'm through security for 45 minutes waiting to get on the train, just like our plane experiences. And he said, so my proposition is that you create an app that says I check in and gives you the option to get on one of the earlier trains that once you get in. So like normally when you go through security, even on an airplane, this would work on an airplane, you go through security, you get there 2 hours early just in case anything happens, but almost never does anything bad happen, right? So then you're just sitting for 2 hours early. And while you're sitting there, if you're going to Chicago, you could sit there and watch 5 different planes go to Chicago first, right? So if you had an app that says check in, then it puts you on an empty seat on the earlier Chicago flight, therefore filling an earlier flight, freeing up space on your flight, and then allowing more people to fit on that. So not only does it get you there 45 minutes earlier because you load 45 minutes earlier and take off 45 minutes earlier, but you also free up space for someone else to do the same thing. And you end up filling capacity that wasn't going to be filled in that one. So solves the same problem in a very different way. But in terms of perception, does the same thing. So instead of paying $1 billion or $200 billion, all you have to do is pay $200,000 to make an app. And that's kind of his argument, is that most of the time perception is the only thing that matters. Another example he used was, if you throw a cucumber out of the peripherals of your cat, the cat will turn around and see the cucumber and jump out of the way, thinking it's a snake, because it's a primordial reaction to that object. And basically what he's saying there is that your cat isn't, the successful cats don't live, the ones that turn around and say, what is that, a snake or cucumber? Those ones don't live, because every time that ends up being a snake, it eats them, you know? But the ones that turn around and always jump away, those are the ones that gene pool gets passed on. So the point there is that the quick decision making, emotional decision making over logical decision making is what wins the day every single time. Because especially in one thing I wanted to do for the segment is just have a snake or a snake-like object, just toss it on the table, see how you reacted, because I know you're scared of snakes, and I just think it would be funny to do a thought experiment there. But the point is that emotion makes decisions, and for the most part, that's how people act. They act on emotion, they act on popularity, they act on no one wants to be an outlier, no one wants to be left out, that kind of thing. So moving into how advertisers take advantage of that is where this kind of heats up. It gets a little high, it gets a little sweaty. Because as an advertiser, your goals include, as an advertiser, you're a business, right? Obviously, your main goal is to make more money. But the micro goals that lead to making more money include bringing more awareness, more. You want to set yourself apart as like the brand preference. So like in a Coke and Pepsi, that might be one of your goals. You want to be the choice when someone finally goes, like someone says, with brand awareness, you just want people to know you're there. With differentiation, people already know the product's there. You want them to choose you when they go to get that product. Direct sales would be more like card salesman. Retail development might more be like bringing people to your Macy's store, like the Macy's parade. Lead generation is getting people interested via like signing up for emails, that kind of thing. Reputation might be is more of like I want to, like, all right, reputation is like a BP. BP now has commercials about being like environmental friendly, like making initiatives. They have to make those commercials because they fucked the Gulf of Mexico and a lot of the ocean with an oil spill. So now they have to up their reputation and get people's minds positive about them again. Keeping consumers up to date. That's another marketing goal, like telling them this is what we're doing now. We're not just this company from the past. We now do digital marketing, that kind of thing. And then once again, restoring your image is kind of like the BP thing. And then there's repetition, which is just like kind of getting your name in front of people again. It's the blunt force of marketing. So those are like kind of the goals of the advertiser when they're trying to reach you. I just want to get both perspectives, because we got the consumer perspective of how your decisions are made for you psychologically through differentiation and comparison. That's kind of the fundamentals of your decision making. And then here are the goals of the advertisers. And where do those end up meeting is in the methods of advertising. And I want to go through some of these and use some examples and talk about where in advertising these things come into practice. So types of persuasion include association, call to action, claims or facts, games/activities, humor, hype, fear, prizes and representation, sales price, sense of appeal, special ingredients, endorsement. And I'll go over that in more detail in a second in slightly different ways. But these are kind of like the tools that advertisers have at their disposal, because keep in mind, these advertisers now know your psychology. They know your buyer persona. They have an idea of their customer's ocean analysis. They have an idea of their openness, how much they're willing to try something new, how much they're aware of new adaptations, what their adaptation curve is, if they're early adapters. Like, they have this full picture of who their ideal customer is. And you can't just say at this point in advertising, I want to sell to everyone, because that's not effective. You have to know who's going to buy your thing. Like, if I'm trying to sell a sleeping bag, I want to sell, if I'm selling a cutting edge sleeping bag that's using new technology, I'm selling to someone with high openness, someone that's an early adopter, but someone who's also outdoorsy and extroverted and hangs out with their friends, because I want them to spread my product around. So there's a balance there. But regardless, one of the first tools that you'll see a lot of advertisers use is alter casting. And this is the main tool. This is the emotional tool. This is what you see on like the what do you call those? The de jour or the jadus, the
amuse-bouche,
the amuse-bouches, the colognes, and or more likely the perfumes, where they show like really hot guys and like really hot girls like making out with each other, and then it's just like j'adore. That's it, j'adore. Yeah,
j'adore.
J'adore afterwards, and it's told you nothing about the smell. It's told you nothing about how long it lasts, nothing about how much is in it. There's no, an accountant wouldn't be happy with this commercial. Like, if they were in the back ends of it, an accountant would make it has 16 ounces, which is like 500 sprays per use, and it smells like pine trees. No, that's not the right way to advertise that anymore. There's old commercials like that, but the new commercials show like a slow motion video of a waterfall, and then it cuts to this like girl who has like sweat all over her, and she's in lingerie and she's feeling herself. And then it's all set in black and white, and there's some guy that's running in slow motion, and then it cuts back to the girl and she embraces the guy. And that's modern day commercial, because it's this logicless, senseless, like feeling, this alter casting that is basically saying, you know what? There's no way to describe this smell because it's a video that we're showing you. So why not describe it in like this almost
abstract,
euphoric,
abstract
aesthetic? Yeah. So that's alter casting. And I think personally, most forms of advertising fit into that, because even if you're doing humor advertising, like you're trying to embody your brand and you're trying to make this persona that you want people in, but like sports cars do this, some clothes do this, what do you call it? Perfume, cologne, Axe does this. If you remember when Axe used to have the commercials where that guy would put it on and hot girls would just come chasing after him. That's
how it feels to chew 5 gum.
Yeah. Oh, 5 gum.
That's a good those one. Are good ones. That's a good one.
Yeah. That's a good one. So the next one is stroking ego. That's another,
we're not talking about that on our podcast, are we? Stroking?
Shit.
I'll drink to that.
Stroking ego. Yeah. We're talking about maybe not stroking ego, maybe tantalizing your ego, if that's a better word for you. But this one is basically since you're a rich guy, since you're a sexy guy, since you're rich, since you're handsome, since you're ripped, then you need this. So it's the guy or girl, like, you're a sophisticated woman. You fit this A, B, and C, man or girl, whatever it is, then you need this. And it's stroking your ego, basically. It excludes some people, but it says, it gives that, it's another version of like giving that perfect image of yourself and letting yourself play off it. The next one is acknowledging resistance. And this one came in the early 2000s the most, where it's acknowledging that your viewer doesn't like want to be sold to. They know that like the old timey version of ads is like giving you the facts, giving you all this. They want it to be more subtle. They want it to be more sublimable, but sublimable. So this is more like the this is where humor this is more of an aged sales technique.
A fine cheddar of an advertisement.
This is not, but this is what refine the cheddar of today's advertising, because it used to be like, are you sick of losing your hair to blepharitis? And then it'd be like, well, guess what? You don't need that anymore. Like Cheek's radio voice. So so people got sick of that. Young people got sick of that, and they wanted to be
Are
sold
you
an
sick
idea.
of wiping your own ass? Because people may think you're gay? Well, I've got a solution for you.
That's good.
Good throwback too.
That was a good throwback. What was that from?
It was Jean
Is that
Claude.
fake invention?
Was that fake invention?
Fake invention.
Jean Claude.
A robot that'd wipe your butt for you.
Oh yeah, it was Jean-Claude. You're right. All right. The next one is grabbing your attention. This is a classic one as well. This is your
What? Why is advertising so sexual, Jay? Jesus.
Hey, this is the perfect one to ask that about. This is your Carl's Jr. lewd woman.
I was just
Go
thinking that
daddy.
commercial exactly.
In your just channeling your inner Neanderthal. Like everyone has that saliva watering. I see a chucha mama mumu, like that.
Zoinga.
All the inner beasts, and it's just that stupid, rudimentary objectifying of women, basically. That is just, it's total Flintstones babbling your motor vehicle with your feet. It's just it's rudimentary and it's dumb and it should be outlawed at this point. But it is something that was effective, because like people would see like nearly naked women and just be like, there's also ones where it's like, do you guys remember that commercial where it was like, wow, that's a low price? There was one of those for Best Buy where this guy was just screaming the whole time about it being a low price, and that's grab your attention, just screaming.
Compared to what?
Yeah, no one knows. He was in a Best Buy. It wasn't like he was looking at two different stores. Wow. But that's another example. The next one is Promised Land. That is more spot on to the Axe body spray kind of motto, where it's like, you slather this shit on, next thing you know, your biggest problem is going to be a horde of hot ladies just chasing after you. That's the Axe body spray Promised Land. It could be like, it could be the DraftKings, the old DraftKings commercials used to be like, if you bet on this, you're gonna be rich, and you'd be showing like the cribs you'd be in after betting with DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So that's the Promised Land. Those are becoming more taboo. There's more laws against those. I remember there's one back in the day where Coke got sued because they were like, if you drink a Coke, you could be doing this. And there's this guy in like a private jet, and someone sued Coke because they were like, you told me if I was drinking Coca-Cola,
no way,
I could wake up in a private jet plane and I'd be the man. And it was something like a contest they were kind of promoting, but there was like it was very clearly fake. It was kind of like the McDonald's getting sued for their hot coffee, that kind of thing, where it was just like, obviously they weren't explicit enough about the terms and conditions of this situation.
Coffee
So,
might not be hot.
Did you order a cold brew? No, I ordered a hot coffee. Why was it hot? I don't know. The next one is inadequacy. This one, to me, is the most manipulative. It's basically saying like,
you're not enough.
10 out of 10 guys have 10-inch penises. And if you don't, you need Viagra.
Yeah.
You know, that's that kind of thing. I've never seen explicitly a Viagra ad that's like that in any way, but but it's like the, do you want to be the only one without a red Lamborghini? And it's like rich guys are like, I do not.
And poor guys are like, I need a Lamborghini.
Yeah. I need a Lamborghini to be rich. The next one is fearing being the only one without the product. The last one feeds into this one well. It's like, don't be the only guy without Kids Bop 12, you know? You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the only guy that didn't hear the new Kids Bop hits.
Don't show up to Bobby Joe's birthday party without the new Nike F-150s.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't chew Big Red.
Nike and Ford did a team up, and they made the Nike F-150. They just spray diesel when you're walking.
It's the only way to show you're a man.
It's the only way to use sneakers and spoil the environment at the same time.
And get chicks.
Do you know girls that love the smell of motor fuel? Well, I've got the sneakers for you.
Well, come on down to Foot Locker. We won't put you in a Ford today. Do you love the smell of gasoline in the air? Do you love having to put out a ladder to climb into the cab of your truck?
Well, we got the bed sheets for you.
Foot Locker.
Have you ever tried Egyptian cotton? Oh boy. All right.
If you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
If you don't feel like this is a conversation about advertising, then you're fucking right. The next tool you might identify in your local advertising agency's tactics is they might try to scare you. They might try to say 10 out of 10 doctors agree that this drug is bad for your children. That's your typical Facebook ad. I feel like my mom sends me one of those once a week where it's like 10 things your gynecologist doesn't want you to know about your penis. It's all...
You sure you should be going to a gynecologist?
Maybe I'm going to the wrong gynecologist.
Oh my God.
All right, moving on. And then obviously we go on to humor, which is cheek, like your favorite Geico commercials, that kind of thing. My favorite commercials are always the Old Spice just never gets it wrong. Old Spice makes me laugh every time. The other ones are the new progressive commercials where it's like, don't be like your parents. Those crack me up every time.
Those are great. Those
are fire.
Live, laugh, love. Do you really need a sign to live, laugh, love? Yeah, I do.
My phone doesn't have silent.
Yeah, everybody's phone does. It's right here. It's too many pillows. Where are you going to sit? The thing is, those are so identifiable. That's why those work so perfectly. My mom's got 8 pillows on the couch. Like, my parents don't know how to operate their cell phones. That fits so perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the emotional side of advertising. Those commercials have almost nothing to do with their product, but both our generations, the lower generations, and the upper generations can identify with them because older generations are like, oh yeah, that's funny, that I've done that before.
I do
but they
that,
don't,
yeah.
And they don't take it personally necessarily because it is funny, and they're like, oh, maybe I've done that once. Because like I've talked to my dad about it. He's like, yeah, that's funny. And then I'll call him out on it later, and he'll be like, that's not funny.
You're reading a book about a submarine? Who reads books about submarines?
I think my all-time favorite one is like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And like, He's got blue hair.
He's got what?
He's got blue hair.
What's
There's
that?
like a Lowe's or a Home Depot.
Yeah, and this guy with blue hair walks behind him, and there's these two dads, and he's like, "Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it," and they're like, yeah, "That's blue hair. He's got blue hair." Because do you not realize that trope about older people? They can't not mention when someone has like blue hair or tattoos.
Yeah, okay.
Like that's what we're like. You don't know him. You don't know him.
It's the common relatable stuff.
Was that an adjustable crescent, Steve? Great job. He's like, you're not assisting him. You hired him.
Remember, you hired him. He's the expert.
Those are dynamite.
Yeah, you can go into them a million times. You don't know these commercials?
No, dude, I told you, like, I don't see commercials.
All right, based on our examples, though, you should make one right now. Go.
Yeah.
Make a commercial off the examples.
Yeah.
Of don't turn into your parents. Something that you think is generic. A lot of parents do.
Yeah. What's a typical parent thing? Don't steal it from what we just said. That'd be copyright infringement.
Yeah. Don't fucking do that, dude.
Sheesh. My mind's drawing a blank. Can I get a starter? A little Flint to this match?
Think about how your dad would react to you buying something you don't need.
I'm going to need an example first. Use in a sentence. Cheek doing first.
I don't know if I can make one up either. We just put you on the spot.
Something my parents do. Okay, maybe it is harder on the spot than you think it is. But
yeah, see, it's not easy. I definitely think we made Eli feel awkward.
I think we could all come up with 10 of them, but I'm cold right now.
Or it'd be like your parent coming, like for me, it'd be my dad coming into my room singing at 7 a.m. and be like, "It's 7 a.m.
What are you doing?
It's time to be quiet." Yeah. Because like it would be a juxtaposition between him coming in at 10 p.m. and being like, "You guys have to be quiet now," and him coming in the morning and me telling him that like this is not normal times of being awake. But we should move on from that. The last one is nostalgia, which I think also that commercial set kind of also hits because it's like also hitting our pain receptors in terms of our parents, but also like the good old days. Like right now, if I saw a Marlboro commercial with an old timey suede western hatted man with a big old belt buckle and tight jeans and a limp like hip, and then he lit a cigarette and he said, "That's camping, baby," I would absolutely go out and buy a pack of Marlboro Reds.
I'd absolutely go out and buy a sleeping bag.
But that's nostalgia. So what I want to get in from there, I wanted to move through those, unless you guys have more to say about that.
I'm going to come up with a commercial at some point. I'm just going to spit it out of nowhere.
That's all.
So the next thing I kind of want to move into is, so those are their methods. We talked about the goals of advertisers. We talked about how we know psychologically customers are influenced. And if you didn't get the full story on that, go back to episode 1, or part 1 of this episode. And now I want to go to kind of the ethics and the social results of these. And I think the most obvious one to me, at least, is like when you look back at those Carl's Jr. ads, and you basically, what you're saying when you have this, you're not saying anything about their burgers. It's just a video, right? It's this hot girl who's biting into a juicy burger that the juicy burger nonetheless looks good on its own, but they're using this, like, they're using basically this fundamental knowledge that they're basically making the assumption that every guy wants this girl, you know? And that might seem fine on service value, but the long-standing effects of that commercial and many other commercials before and like that one makes is basically it sends this image to people of all shapes and sizes who can't necessarily achieve that Carl's Jr. look, which media is telling us is the desirable look, which is dumb that everyone believes that is the look that everyone wants. The issue is that like every girl is watching that too. Every woman is watching that too. And they're saying, oh, well, this must be what men want. And then they feel shitty about themselves because they look at that and say, well, they're objectifying this person. This is the idol. This is something stagnant. This is what beauty looks like. And they're forced to counter oppose themselves to that image. And it's dangerous to body image and things like that. And to me, that's the most obvious form of danger that advertising can serve. And it's one of the best movements that's happening right now. It's not all the way there yet, but like you see more and more body shapes of all kinds, bodies and people of all kinds, whether it's representation in weight or color or anything like that, and literally anything. And representation is one of the biggest things that advertising needs more of. And honestly, at this point, it's more intuitive because if you're not keeping up with that, people are going to hate you more. And acknowledging that there are different shapes and sizes of people is only a strength for you because you can help people put themselves imaginatively in the shoes of that person. Like if you put super hot girl eating burger, or not even super hot girl, everyone like super skinny, blonde, big boobs, that's one type of person. You put that person eating a burger, that's one type of person that you're attracting. But you put someone completely different wearing your clothes, then you're attracting that different lifestyle. Like, don't you want to attract people that can see themselves using your product? And I mean, more and more ads are using AR and stuff to put yourself in that situation. But
what's AR?
Artificial reality.
Augmented reality.
Augmented reality. Yeah, excuse me.
Can I challenge you for a little bit on that?
Please.
So while I completely agree with your inclusiveness mentality there and how like promoting a product shouldn't necessarily be shaming somebody or assuming that that's what everybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't you also say earlier in the podcast that in the way that we advertise now, you need to understand your specific consumer and direct your advertisements toward that consumer? And so don't you also think by following that sense of logic, if maybe Carl's Jr. wants to, if they think that their niche customer is probably going to be a straight male between the ages of, 25 and 35 years old, they will be most successful putting, a busty, beautiful young girl on that commercial.
Well, the issue is what is the standard of beauty, I guess. But you're right. As of current, maybe they know what that is. But the thing is that consumers have started holding companies, and hopefully this happens more because it doesn't happen enough yet. But consumers have started holding companies to better standards and asking them to be better in terms of their representation in commercials, in terms of who they sell to and what their products are made for, and who their products are made for. And so with that, customers, you're right. There is maybe still a fundamental truth about what sells to people, but the idealism in people has started taking over, and they're starting to say like, all right, Nike, I'm going to stop buying your products unless you start representing people of different weights and colors and body types, even if it is skinny and a different body type or a little more with a little more weight. Like you can't just say that the perfect person or the only person is one kind of person. So the whole idea is that people are holding consumers, who in capitalism have all the power. Consumers are slowly starting to say like, hey, you need to represent better people. So now if you just show your conventional skinny big boob bimbo, then
she might be
you
very intelligent too. We don't know that.
Right. Don't want to make any assumptions, but the point is that might not be a popular move anymore. So yeah, it might sell, but it also might get a ton of backlash, and it will get a ton of backlash in a lot of cases. Like I was seeing the other day, I was trying to get a marketing psychologist onto the podcast at one point, and I was seeing one of the ones I was trying to get on retweeted this modern advertisement by some like ADT type company. It wasn't actually ADT, but it was a modern advertisement. Basically, it was saying like, stay at home, keep everyone safe. and all the images of people staying at home were women with their kids. And it was just he was just like, he retweeted it and he was just like, don't we have a better model for this now? Like, what is the purpose of making it women at this point in the image? Like, why not make it mixed? Because there is a mix now. And that's kind of the point, is that there's like a
reinforcing stereotypes.
Yeah, it's just like, stop. Because like some, like we said earlier, or maybe it was in the previous part of this episode, but like, yeah, there is part to this where you're appealing to people's existing beliefs, but then there's part of advertising where you're accentuating them and making them worse. And body image is absolutely one where advertising has made it so much worse, because it's like, they say, when you're, especially with people buying clothing brands and stuff like that, you're buying this clothing brand because you see this different body type that you might hold a standard up to wearing it, and you're like, maybe that can help me look more like them. And it's not true. And like you're setting goals that are just mean and unachievable and not even realistic, and it's stupid. So beyond that, let's talk about advertising to kids. And I think advertising for kids is just as criminal as the other one, because I was looking into this whole thing about how McDonald's in the olden days, their whole marketing strategy, their entire marketing strategy was advertise to kids, and you'll get your hooks in them early and you'll never lose them as a customer.
Damn.
Because it's basically like a cigarette company saying we want to sell to 3-year-olds. Like, we know that our food is literally addicting. Like, our salt content and just like disgust. Like, it's tasty, it's cheap, it's super salty, and it's literally addicting. Chemically, it's addicting. And so they're basically saying, if we advertise to kids, if we get kids to come in, then we have a customer for life. What's a cheaper person to advertise? And not to mention, if you advertise to kids and they demand their parents come, you get a whole family to come in. So the whole advertising scheme with kids is ridiculous, because like, first of all, they're advertising the toys. That started with like advertising toys, little like media centric toys. So whether it's Frozen dolls, and I mean, back in the day it was different stuff, but Frozen dolls, Marvel toys,
the Happy Meals, you buy a little box, you get a toy with it.
Yeah. And you're advertising that on kids shows that are supposed to be educational for kids and good for kids. And in between that, they're seeing these fast food commercials where it's like, you can get your new favorite toy. These are kids that don't have logical receptors formed yet in their brains. They're purely emotional. They see these things. These commercials are manipulating them, saying like, all the other kids have these. All the other kids are having fun with these. Like, some of the early McDonald's commercials look like Nathan For You commercials. Like, they're ridiculous. It's like, every other kid has this. You're a loser if you don't have it. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, of course this is going to manipulate kids. And then these kids, that was like old car commercials too. It's like, the back seats of these cars have DVD players and they're comfy and they swivel around and there's room for games. Like, old car commercials used to try to sell to kids too, because if the kids love it, then the moms have to buy it, or the dads have to buy it. And so it's become more and more taboo to advertise to kids, but it's still pretty fucked up. Like, there are advertisements on kids' channels. I think it's pretty bullshit. Like, fun sugary cereals are advertised. Yeah. Like Captain Crunch, and they're advertised as like these fun environments where cartoons play and have imaginations and live outside the box, and kids are like, all right, now I want that. They've never tasted it before. They have no idea. They're not making a logical decision. They're making it based off of what they see on TV, and they're not, like, I don't know. I really think that kids' TV probably shouldn't have commercials, if I had to make a best guess.
When I think of kids' commercials, I always go straight to Hot Wheels and like Silly Putty, and it's just like kids with spiked up, slicked back hair with like, whoa, faces, like big open mouths, just in awe at what's faces going on. Yeah, the airhead faces. Oh, look at this sick toy. And it's got like that loud, screaming cheek radio voice.
Yeah.
Talking super fast.
You don't want to be a dork, kid.
Doesn't come with, or product not sold with batteries. Stuff like that.
Yeah. sold exclusively outside of Hasbro Entertainment.
Which I don't think anything like that is wrong. Like you're spreading cool toys, but the McDonald's, the stuff that's clearly bad for their health.
There's an ethical line. Yeah.
Clearly an ethical dilemma.
Where it's like, where it's food and health development. But even some of those toy commercials create problems for like their parents, where kids get like addicted to them and parents don't know how to deal with it. And like, no one is the perfect parent. So like, it's just, you're not prepared for when your kid sees a commercial like that and demands to see and have those products. But yeah, the next one, the last one, is subliminal advertising. Subliminal advertising to me is super fucked up. And it's argued that there's no such thing as subliminal advertising because everyone knows what's happening to them. But I would also argue that that's not true. I think people have some idea, but subliminal advertising, the issue is that the goal of subliminal advertising is to subvert your free will decision making and make you decide beyond logic. So like when you think of the idea of subliminal messaging, you think of someone, a rational person, getting influence in a way that acts against their rational influences. So like basically it's making someone act against their own ideals. And so some people think they employ, I've read some articles with people, and the creepiest thing about doing the research for this is a lot of the articles I read are marketing experts, consumer psychology experts, trying to teach other psychologists how to hack people in the masses. And they talk about people in such a objective way, this non-personal way, that it's creepy. It's like you're talking about sheep funneling into a slaughterhouse. You're talking about these people who don't, it almost sounds like you're talking about a group of people who don't make their own decisions and you're just deciding for them. And in some ways it is. It's statistics and it's human nature and it's biology and it's evolution. And a lot of this stuff is what's playing into it. But to talk about sometimes, I think it's super interesting, but at the same time, super corrupt that sometimes you talk about it in this way that it's like if we change this, then 60% more of people will buy it. 60% more of people will become addicted. Even if the government says we can't say how good nicotine feels, we could still say how good it tastes. And then all of a sudden we got people hooked, that kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's super criminal to think about subliminal messaging. And a lot of that emotional messaging that people have, like the j'adores, those kinds of like perfume embodiment of an idea, those Lincoln commercials where Matthew McConaughey is not saying a single fucking thing and he's just like
nothing coherent.
He's not saying anything, but he's saying things and he's just being sexy as he always is, and he's driving a Lincoln. Like those are the examples of like, what are you doing? Like how can you say this is ethical advertising?
Did you read anything about if subliminal advertising works?
Yeah, I mean, it does work. I mean, all right. So there's, like I said, there's an argument that subliminal advertising isn't even a thing. You can't do that, and it could be more of a thought experiment. But for the people who say that it does exist, they say it absolutely works. That's why they even mention it, because the people who say it does exist basically claim that subliminal advertising or marketing is this thing where you take a product who has very logical results, has very logical reasons to buy. You probably don't need it, but it makes it so your commercials make it so you do feel like you need it, or you do feel like it's necessary, or you do feel like that without this product, you might not be able to be the same person that you want to be. And regardless of what you tell, like just telling someone that, you can't convince someone of that. But if you show them this feeling, and that's what people who argue that subliminal advertising is real, because you're showing people.
I feel like it's showing you a set of images that is trying to provoke you to create a narrative in your brain that they're not going to say, but they want you to say to yourself in your brain, which is fucked up.
It's like almost this more. Thought. It's almost this more creative way of like olden days might be like, if you want to attract hot women, then you got to use j'adore. But nowadays, it's like this guy who's like under a waterfall bathing, and there's this girl like stroking his side. Up. Yeah, mermaid swims up, strokes his calves, shaves his legs, licks his tongue, and then all of a sudden, and then the commercial ends. But at the same time, without saying anything, it's giving you this feeling that like I'm inadequate without it, you know?
Yeah, it's like the narrative. I need a mermaid to shave my leg. Well, I know I'm never gonna look like that guy. At least maybe I could smell like that guy, and maybe I could have a taste of his life. Exactly,
and it's fucked up. And I think we all fall susceptible to those kinds of things, like these herd theories of like, look, everyone's rushing to get it. Like the Wii. I remember I waited in line for the Wii.
Yeah, the Wii was big for me.
And yeah, the Wii was all it lived up to be. So I don't mean to say it wasn't. But
you maxed out the number of Miis you could create.
I did. I made every single Mii that the capacity allowed.
It was
for.
Like 100 or something.
It was 100.
Remember the jet plane man?
You remember jet plane guy? Do you remember Olympics guy?
No, I don't remember Olympics.
Yeah, I conformed his eyebrows and mustaches to be the Olympic rings.
You got real creative with them.
I did one to look like Garfield. I hate Mondays. He didn't say that, but I said it every time I played him. I had to delete ones whenever I wanted to make a new one. I made a jet plane guy. Did we already talk about that guy?
Yeah. How come you only were creating male characters on your Wii? It seems like you weren't very inclusive to.
They didn't have genders. They didn't have genders.
Yes, they did.
They were just planes and Olympic rings. It didn't matter their gender.
You're identifying them as guys.
You're identifying the Olympic rings as male figures.
No, you said me guys. We guys.
I mean, guys is like y'all. Like you all.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an issue, but everyone calls everyone guys.
That is an issue, actually. I hate that I say that.
Yeah, it's so natural. It's one of those things that's so natural and it feels good, but like, I feel like you gotta stop it.
I've been trying to push away from that, especially since I was a bartender in the olden days. Ever since I was a bartender, I would always sign off from tables like, "All right, guys, thank you," and I'd be like, that's kind of inappropriate. Like, and I talked to Courtney about it, and she was like, "Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be saying guys," even though, like, yeah. In our context, some people do know it, but it's like, it is still guys. So I shifted to y'all or you all.
Yeah, y'all is a solid one.
I use y'all all the time at the restaurant. I got yelled at by a couple of women for saying guys before.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I get it.
Do we look like a couple of guys to you? I was like, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. They're like, no, we know. I'm just saying, like, we're not guys.
It's weird.
Maybe you shouldn't have chosen to live in a country that was very male dominant and fucking put you in that scenario, bitch. I was raised like that, motherfucker. Come at me.
But is that their fault either, Cheek? Yeah.
Then I got asked to take 5 in the office.
Yeah.
And I got fired.
And you got fired, and now you work at a new brewery, so what an opportunity. Yeah.
So I don't do that anymore. I don't lash out at customers.
So the last thought experiment that I want to do is how we as just viewers, common experiencers, y'alls, so to speak.
Y'allers.
How we can go about experience advertising, acknowledging its shortcomings, and still being members of capitalist societies. Because there are still products.
Hold up. You guys repeat that, Johnny. That was a heavy loader.
So there's no way we're going to find ourselves without a capitalist system in the near future. You know, like we're still going to operate within that. There's still going to be things we're excited to buy because other people brought them up to us. There's still going to be shows that we're excited to consume because we've heard about them or because Netflix projected them. But how can we be healthy consumers? How can we be consumers that don't perpetuate bad stereotypes about body images and how you should be and what kind of person you are and what you look like, that kind of thing? How can we be consumers that don't fall within those tropes? And I guess some pops out there. I guess if you guys don't have anything to say, I'd like you guys to go first, but if you guys don't have anything to say, I could try to fester together a response.
Ask the question again.
That's a tough question.
How do we still be consumers in a capitalist society, but fight against harmful body image perpetuations, stereotypes, demographic, like harmful demographics, that kind of thing? Because like demographics will always be a thing. We can't get away from that as long as we're in a capitalist society where you're trying to differentiate your product. But like there are things like where you show sexy, like, or skinny. I'm fucking up with that too. Like you show one specific body type that people perceive as attractive and you make that the staple for it. How do we move away from that? How do we support different body types, different body colors, different genders, different mixes of genders, identities, that kind of thing?
I think it's well, this is a heavy one. I think it's tricky because we're talking about, I would classify this as a smaller issue within a bigger one. Like, I don't care who Nike is advertising to if they're using child labor in a different country. Like that's just like not something that I would usually pay attention to or importance of like the advertising. Like, I just think that's like a low tier issue, but like in the grand scheme of things, it still does have an effect and it's important. On top of that, I had another train of thought, but I'm losing it.
Well, that makes sense. It's like you, that's exactly what I'm talking about, I guess, is that like the power of consumerism is like we have so many options, and like capitalist enthusiasts are always like, well, it creates options, it creates competitiveness. Well, then guess what? You give people who have inclinations of social justice the power to choose someone else and control that. And at the same time, those capitalist people will often complain because it's like, oh, well, you guys care about this. Well, it's like, you created the system where we can choose. Well, we're going to choose. And so like, if you're a Nike that employs impoverished people who have no choice other than to work for 5 cents on the dollar, then maybe we have the option not to buy from you. Like maybe I can buy from, I mean, this isn't a good example, but what? Go ahead, Cheat.
I think that I understand where you're going with that like we're talking about the consumer has the power to say no, to not buy the product from the company, but we don't currently live in a society where people are willing to do that. And that needs to be acknowledged. So either there's a lack of competitiveness in the system that's set up where consumers aren't actually demanding the change from the companies that we're discussing, or consumers don't actually have the power that we're claiming that they do.
Mm-hmm.
If they do have that power, then the solution is that people need to actually stand up for the word and stop buying products again and again and again. And that will either create the company to change, or another company that is socially responsible needs to do a good enough job of making themselves a cool fucking company at a low enough price that people are willing to purchase the product. Like it's you're going to go around in circles, I feel like, with this discussion. And that's what's really frustrating about it, because I feel like consumers don't actually have the power that we claim the capitalist market gives them. And it's just, it's a broken system.
I mean, that's a really good point, because the strength is only in numbers. So even if if you're in an example where 10% of people realize the criminalism in a capitalist company, that doesn't make a difference, right? Like those people could say, I vow I'm never gonna buy TP towels again. But all of a sudden that doesn't, I mean, not all of a sudden, but that doesn't matter at all, because if it's 10% of their consumer base, they'll barely even notice a notch, you know? It takes a large majority. So you're right. Just because you're doing something wrong as a capitalist company doesn't mean that you're going to get caught for it and shot down for it. Amazon's a great example of that. Amazon is so uber powerful. The benefits of their company are so great that people are willing to overlook the way they treat their employees and the types of labor they employ and the international types of labor they employ, just because they want one-day shipping. The value is so much greater than anyone else. And Amazon has created something.
Same with Apple too.
Same with Apple.
The biggest companies in your everyday life are shit, but we don't care because they make our lives easier.
Exactly. And we don't know how. And basically, they've raised the standard of life to a point where we don't know how to live without them. So like with like an Apple, like, yeah, we might acknowledge their shit, but like I can't just get rid of my phone, right? Like I can't just stop doing that. With Amazon, I still need my stuff here in the next 2 days, you know? And it works with other things too, like Redbird. I don't know if you've heard Redbird. It's a chicken company. They were tagged for placing bets on when their employees would get COVID during the pandemic. Yeah.
What do they do? Redbird?
They're chicken. It's like chicken at the grocery store.
Mm.
Yeah.
My earphones are getting real close to dying, just so you're aware.
Well, we're close to the end in the first place. So I don't know. My thoughts overall is, as a consumer, try to acknowledge. Chick-fil-A is another one where it's like, I think fast food's easy. Like if you see a fast food company that represents something you don't believe in, there's plenty of substitutes. Go to someone that doesn't do that. Like Chick-fil-A is fucked up. Chick-fil-A condemns the killing of gay people in Nigeria. Like no joke at all. That's not a radicalism. That they full on support a Christian community that sends priests to Nigeria who are advocating for bills that would allow the killing of gay people. That for me was easy to write out Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I haven't.
But it was basically that Chick-fil-A, it's abstract. I get how some people can say like
Chick-fil-A on here last week. I feel horrible after that.
But I mean, look it up for yourself. Don't ever just take my word for it. But there was an example of where the Chick-fil-A CEO supported with a lot of his money a Catholic organization that was selling priests to a country in South Africa who wanted to pass a bill that would make it okay to kill gay people. And the priests that they were sending there were advocating for that bill. And so it's indirect, yes, but it's so fucked up that it's worth noting. It's so fucked up that it's like that's even still a possible thing in our world today.
And there are plenty of other companies that do stuff like that, just more behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that's less heard of. Well, the point I was getting to earlier was that you have to do so much research. And it's just like so much responsibility for something that we've never really had responsibility for, that I struggle with it. Like going back to Amazon, I tried not to buy from Amazon, but there are times where I've spent like 20 minutes searching for alternatives. I'm like, I'm wasting so much time. Like I could just get this done in a second. Mm-hmm. Why don't I order Amazon? And it's a dilemma. I'm like, does it really matter at that point? Like, they're still going to be filthy, stinking rich without me. And yeah, I don't know if that's a good mindset.
Like what impact do I make? What if I order one more? And like, would it matter if I did or didn't? Yeah. I mean, me too. I do the same thing. Like I still order from Amazon. I love it. But I think a lot of it is the start is acknowledging it and not just acknowledging things doesn't make a difference, but figuring out where
Being
you're
aware of it.
Yeah. Cutting one thing out, even if it's not all the things, just cut one thing out. Doesn't have to be what we cut out. Cut one other thing out. Something that you personally in your life don't have to do with. And eventually all that will add up to something. But that's the end of that sentiment. Cheek, give us a radio sign off. The first thing I want you to say in the radio sign off is the benefits this podcast has for every man and woman's penis.
Well, that's all we've got today from Podcast Bozo. Thanks for listening. And just as a note, once again, your penis will grow 10 times larger every episode you listen to. So listen to Podcast Bozo, tell your friends, and donate to our Bozo Fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin B, again for another dono. That's a great show.
Wait. Commercial, stereotypical commercial about parents being lame.
You got it?
I just know I have to do it because I said I'd bring one up earlier. On the spot.
Parents being lame.
I give this enough thought.
What's something stupid? Smoking pipes, hairy chest, salami, cutting salami.
Cutting salami. No, I'm thinking like
sucking on nips.
Super Bowl commercial. Parents buy a car for the kid. They're like, this car is so sick, and then the dad does a dab, and he's like, we got this for you, son. Dab, 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 and then the mom's doing a TikTok in the background, and then the kid rolls their eyes, and it's like, now's the best time to get an affordable Mercedes. Da, 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 da.
You know what that just made me think of is, you know how moms always reach for the handle in the passenger seat? That'd be a good one where they're like, you see your arm, keep reaching, like, nope, that's not what that's for. That's not what that's for. He's driving safely. And she just keeps reaching up for the passenger handle.
Yeah. He's doing 30 and like a 45. And the mom's like freaking out. And he's in the backseat. He's like, you can let go. He's doing 10 under the speed limit.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a good one. Eat shit, eat.
You guys nailed that.
Eat shit, eat.
You guys comboed that one. Perfection.
All right. Adios, arrivederci. That was a long two-parter. I hope you learned a little something about a little something.